This week on World Traveler Cooking, Zucca al Forno. This is a dish that's likely to change how you eat squash in the fall and winter. And it's really quite delicious, quite simple, and quite versatile. Now, within the context of Italian cuisine, typically you have an antipasto as an appetizer, followed by a first course, which is usually like a pasta or a risotto, followed by a second course, which would typically be meat, and then this would be accompanied by vegetables and other side dishes. This is where this dish comes in. It's one of the accompaniments typically served around the second course. It also presents a way in which you can cook squash that then you could later use to make a pumpkin risotto, or for example, ravioli, pumpkin ravioli, or things like that. Also, the seasonings are pretty versatile, and everyone has their own combination. One thing that's found in almost all of them is rosemary. Some people also add thyme. Some people add garlic. Some people even add almonds and pumpkin seeds. We're going to keep it real simple today. We're just going to use some rosemary and some fresh thyme. And even the fresh thyme is totally optional. And you could even use dried rosemary if you have to. I wouldn't recommend using dried thyme with this dish though. Then we'll also season it with some salt and pepper. Use some olive oil, and you can use just about any kind of squash. Here I have a Hokkaido. I just have a Hokkaido because it's what I had at the store. I record these a bit ahead of time, and a lot of the fall squash are not in season yet. So we're going to go ahead and use this. It's a great example squash that you can use to show how you could cook other squash in Italian cuisine. So let's go ahead and get started. So because we're going to cook this with the skin on, I have washed this carefully and scrubbed it, and now we're going to cut it in half. Always be careful with your fingers. So now I have it cut in half. I'm going to scoop the seeds out, and then I will be right back. Alright, so I scooped the seeds out, and I've run the spoon kind of along the inside here to make everything nice and smooth. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this half in half again. This will give me quarters. And then I'm going to cut small wedges. See, we want them relatively thin. And so forth. And so I'm going to cut all of these, and then I will be back. So you don't have to use baking paper if you don't want to, but it helps reduce the mess. So first thing I'm going to do is drizzle olive oil onto the pan, and then I'm just going to smear it around with one of these pieces of it. I'm doing this onto the baking paper, but you could do this straight on the pan. Then I'm going to go ahead and arrange these slices so that they all fit and that they're all sitting on some olive oil. We want these slices to be pretty darn even. You know, they're never going to be perfect, but the more even they are, the better. Yeah. Alright, then we're going to drizzle a little more olive oil over the top. And we're going to smear it all together with our hands so that all of these are well covered. There we go. Then we're going to top with our seasonings. So first, I'm going to sprinkle salt on top. And I have sea salt here that I've crushed. It was super coarse sea salt, but I've crushed it, so pieces will be of varying size. I'm going to do the same thing with the rosemary. Actually, I'm going to put the pepper on before the rosemary. So, and then the rosemary, and then some of the thyme. And again, you could use dried rosemary for this, but I wouldn't use dried thyme. Some people also put garlic. Nuts, other things. But here you go. Next, we will put this in the oven and let it bake. So this will be put in the oven for around 40-45 minutes without the fan at 180 Celsius. That's about 375 Fahrenheit. So now these have been in the oven for 45 minutes or so. You can see how they've cooked nicely and the herbs have seasoned them well. So now to plate, I'm just going to stack them up on a plate like this. You want to kind of show off both the skin and the seasonings on the flesh. We'll just stack them up like this and be back for a taste test. From here, you can garnish with a little bit of fresh herbs. I think I'm just going to put, I think just maybe a couple pieces of fresh thyme on top. And here we have Zucca al Forno. Next up will be the taste test. And now for the taste test. So I actually didn't intend to eat that piece of skin. But the skin is quite edible here. It's interesting. I actually didn't even notice that the skin was eaten, except for that it's not there anymore. The flavors are nuanced, complex. This is really delicious. I'm definitely going to make this with many other kinds of squash for the course of the winter. If you find this content interesting, I hope I've earned a like and a subscription from you. Please click the drop down and notifications so you get notified every time I release a video. And please feel free to comment about anything that you think anybody who is making this dish should know about. Maybe other seasonings you'd use or anything else. Please let me know in the comments. That adds quite a lot of value to these videos. I also have a Patreon account linked there. On that Patreon account you can find blog entries about cooking. The cooking blog entries, of course, are free of charge, as well as previews for upcoming videos. So feel free to go there, check it out. And if you'd like to support me on my work, that'd be great. At any rate, recipes in the description. Bon appetit, and see you next week.